All right. Hi, everyone. I think we're live and welcome to our first Mailbag Live episode. So, for those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Lukey from Focus Inspired, and we'll help you get clear about your career in life. We share the stuff I wish I knew earlier, what you didn't know you needed to know about jobs, careers, and life. And joining me today is Dimitrios. So, he's the creative brain behind our videos and helps produce the Focus Inspired channel. And he's going to be reading your questions and help keep me on track today. So today we're doing something a little bit different. Obviously, this live is something new. And instead of the scripted videos that I usually have, we're going to be answering your questions in real time for those of you who are joining on LinkedIn and YouTube. So you can grab your coffee, join the chat, and dive in. I have a whole bank of questions that were sent earlier that we're going to dive into. Yeah, we've got some questions right now on AI, on jobs, the worst career advice I've ever received, and how to network without feeling awkward, and a bunch of other ones. So if you're watching the replay, then make sure to comment with your biggest takeaway and maybe put in a question for a future mailbag. So yeah, that's the introduction and setting the stage for today. And yeah, Dimi, do you want to introduce
Yeah,
yourself a bit?
thanks very much, Lukey. That was a very good intro, smooth. I like it. So we have some questions today, and we'll just kick things off straight away. We'll dive into it. So the first question here is from Raphael, and they said, "What does your ideal life routine look like, and what's your take on Maslow's hierarchy and your example?"
Gotcha. So my routine has evolved over the years where I mean there's all sorts of morning, what is it, Miracle Morning from Rich Roll. And he uses like the SAVERS acronym for some sort of like scripting, so journaling, and there's like exercise in there. So today, I guess I wake up. I'm a sort of early riser, not super early. I'm kind of like the 5:45 is when I wake up, and mainly because my kids have an early start school. So for those that weren't aware, some schools actually start at 8 o'clock. So their first bell rings at 7:50 in the morning, right? And then there's a second bus that goes around for the 9 o'clock start schools. So we by default have to start a little bit early, and I start at kind of 5:45 to make sure that I make lunches and stuff for them. But prior to that, I am doing a bit of reading. So I'll usually read a book for like 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I have started with my language learning. So I do a Duolingo for anybody who does some language learning. I'll do a little bit of that. And I'll typically do some body weight exercises. And then I'll do my business in the bathroom with some brushing teeth, and then just getting ready, and then make the breakfast for the kids, send them off, and then get started with the day. So I guess that hits most of Maslow's hierarchies, where it's like the safety and security. That's the well, doing my business, exercise is a lot of it. I used to, for a while, add some mindfulness and some meditation throughout the day. I think I've replaced that with reading, and sometimes it's between mindfulness, sometimes it's between journaling. So it kind of like ebbs and flows a little bit in terms of what I do. But those are kind of the basic things that I do. And I'm sure come a month from now or next year, it's going to change and be a little bit different, because I like to pick different things. And when something is more important, I'm on kind of that learning bend. So the Duolingo and the reading is important to me. But maybe in a couple of weeks, couple of months, I might switch it to something else. So
Do
that's
you
kind
do you
of
journal, Lukey, at all?
I did for a while. Recently, I think since I came back from my vacation. So for those that know, I spent a couple of weeks in Asia. I haven't got back into it, but prior to that, I did. So I
Okay.
think it's just me not getting a new journal, because I think I finished it up before I left. So I just gotta grab another one and start it, and I'll probably integrate that into the routine soon
Oh,
enough.
you're
So I
still
find
doing
that helpful.
handwritten then?
I like the handwritten, yeah,
Okay.
because it actually makes it. a little bit more interesting, especially when you can like find an old one and you're like, oh, and then you flip through it and say, oh, that's what I was thinking during that time. I like that. For a while, I also did the electronic ones, but I didn't find them as fulfilling, as satisfying, I guess. So I'd
That
have a little stack of these like little journals on the side in the corner somewhere, right? So yeah.
Yeah, I have to say, like I've journaled every day this year, and I use
Wow.
Notion, and it's been I forced myself to do it. I put a little reminder, say do it like at end of the day, and I just basically what happened in the day, whether it's good or bad, and that way you can find positives from even the bad situations.
Yeah.
So I like even from doing your videos, like editing all the time, I do have these little takeaways. And this, I did start a journal 2 or 3 years ago, but every year it was like halfway through I'd give up, and this is the first time I'm still on it. I'm hoping to complete it this year.
Cool. Yeah.
So we'll move on to the next question that we have from Nyon. I hope I haven't butchered anyone's name. I do apologize. But they have 3 questions actually. So see if we can split this one, Lukey. So, what's the worst advice you ever received, and why didn't you take it? Let's start with that one.
Well, I'm not sure I didn't take it, but what comes to mind is, and I can't really say it's the worst advice, but it's definitely one that caused a lot of frustration and pain during my career. So the advice was fairly typical, where they said just keep your head down and do your work, and your results will speak for themselves. Right. And
We covered
makes
that
perfect
before.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense where you just do good work and people will acknowledge it. But unfortunately, early in my career, I did really well. I was kind of top rated for the performance evaluations, and was highly recognized for all the work that I do. But I would see that other people were getting promoted sooner and faster than me. And this is where, again, I don't necessarily couple it with the worst advice, but it is amongst the most dangerous advice maybe out there. And what needs to be done instead is to be aware of and to build relationships, right? So for those of who have followed some of my content, you might know that my career success formula is basically results and relationships. So relationships are a multiplier for results. So that doesn't mean you don't do good work, right?
Yeah.
But in addition to doing good work, you need to also build those connections. And that's a tough pill to swallow for like the technical folks, the people who um, think that all they want to do is the work, the code, the formulas, the models, the whatever. But if you understand that when other people know about those models and how fast the code is, or how well written it is, or the recommendations and the deliverables are spot on, or the analysis was really well done, well, then that's when kind of your own work can go viral. You develop your reputation, you develop your brand. So being the shy, introverted kid in the corner and not really being good at social situations, being relatively socially awkward, I didn't naturally take to building relationships. But then as I moved further up in my career and you get to the more senior levels, it's all about relationships, right? So,
Mm.
and I wish I started building them sooner. And yeah, I took it, I guess, where I thought my results would speak for itself, but then I realized it's not necessarily the best thing for me, because it you need to develop those relationships. So if I were to turn that around and turn that into best advice, is for you young professionals, or even those later in your career, you better be building those relationships in addition to doing some good work. So
I
hopefully
think,
that answered the question.
yeah, that when you were like talking about this now, that actually reminded me of that Simpsons episode where Lisa was telling Bart about if a tree falls in the woods, does it make a sound? That's
Yeah.
kind of the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Because if you don't tell anyone about your work, who's going to know about it? So
Exactly.
that's the analogy that I would attach to it.
Yeah. And then that
The
episode, he goes, "What's the sound of one
yeah,
hand clapping?" He goes, "All right, this is the sound." We're like, well, okay, but that's a little different.
yeah. So the next again from Nyon again, they have another question. It goes, "Have you hired and made any hiring recommendations that you regretted?
So well, let's start with the hired part first. For those that are aware, I used to run the undergrad campus recruiting program early in my career at the Big Four consulting firm that I worked at. And so if the question is, have I hired anyone that I regretted? I can, I wouldn't say regretted, but I would probably change that I wouldn't have made that if I had more
Okay.
information. So part of it was sometimes you have that gut feel that you should or shouldn't do something. So on paper and through the whole process, this person was fantastic. They were great. But there was something with a few comments, I can't remember exactly what it was, that kind of my stomach's like, something's up with that. Right? And unfortunately, my spidey sense was correct, and it ended up that this person was very much show, right, but not a lot of substance underneath it, right.
Okay.
But I think I would have still done it because, and I can't say I regret it because it was great learning. Like you kind of learn now to trust your gut and try to get those advanced pattern matching that will allow you to determine whether or not someone is good or not. So it's to kind of trust yourself, trust your gut. In terms of hiring recommendations, so I assume this is more like on the referral side. Did I send someone through? Um, I would say that I have made recommendations early on, and part of it was not necessarily telling them that um, with the caveats. So now if I do refer someone, it's always like, this is how I know them, this is how I worked with them, or I didn't actually work with them, or I don't actually
Okay.
know them. I would put all those stipulations now. But early on, it was just like, yeah, take a look at this person, take a look at this person, take a look
Oh,
at this
just
person,
yeah.
because I was really I wanted to help people and to connect everybody. But the first couple times I got burned, were like, hey, Lukey, who did you send me? I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I don't actually know this person. And they're like, oh, why didn't you tell me that? And it's like, oh, well, I thought you'd do your due diligence anyway. And so now I'm a little bit more specific when I make recommendations where that person has to have worked with me or we've interacted for a series of events and time, because I don't take my recommendations very lightly, or I try not to, at least, right? Because
This
too many people
ties,
ask.
yeah, this ties back to exactly what you said in the previous question that Niall
Mm,
answered, where it is networking relationships is important. You just said, I didn't know this person. If you
yeah,
network and you know that person, it puts you a step ahead. So building that rapport is important, which is why you
100%.
keep saying work on your LinkedIn connections and actual having authentic conversations. And even another one, another touch point is you learn from your mistakes, because you could say you didn't know that person, but you made the mistakes, you learned, and you improved to make better recommendations in your hiring process.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely learning. You don't take these as failures or regrets. It's
Yeah.
just learnings that you have to internalize. So yeah, I joke that I have never failed. I have just learned a whole lot.
So right.
Yeah.
Last question from Nyon here, and then we'll move on to the next person. So have you taken a job you did not want but needed? I think a lot of people might find this relatable.
Maybe I've been lucky in my career, but all the jobs I've had, I've taken it because it was of interest to me and I thought it would be helpful. Now, not every single one of the jobs was like a hell yes, I want to do this because it's fulfills me and it's purposeful. But some of it would have, and maybe it's me always like looking for the silver lining and finding what's good about it. But there have been jobs where like I've taken it and like, oh, let me give this a shot. Let me try it. It's not in my wheelhouse. It's not the exactly aligned with what I want to do, but I'm sure I can learn a whole bunch from it. So and in that case, uh, I I I think I needed it from like an exploration and like an experience perspective. And again, part of it might just be me looking back at and almost like rationalizing why I did it, and just like, well, I mean, it might not have been perfect, but at least I learned this much or that much from it. Yeah, but I haven't actually had too many jobs, right? Again, I was at that management and consulting firm for over 12 years. I've done a whole bunch of different like teaching engagements with different companies and different organizations. Probably maybe two or three other like month-long contracts within there. But yeah, I guess I've been fortunate where I haven't had to take anything
I mean, that's good.
that just because I needed it. But it's more of um, yeah,
As you said,
as I think
experimentation.
back, it's experimentation, and it's also what did I learn from it, right? Because I try not to regret anything or that I don't need anything. Maybe that's a very Pollyannish mindset, but it has served me well, right?
Being someone who edits your videos, like I'm just pulling down from, I know now because I've done a lot of them. You had the analogy of if someone was in this position, um, where maybe not that didn't need it, but the ice cream flavor analogy that you've used in your
Mm,
past videos,
yep.
where just try, if you don't know what you were doing, just try the different flavors and then you figure out whether you like it or not. And then
Yeah.
again, networking and speaking to people, like connecting with people who have done that job, as you mentioned in your videos, you get to fact find a little bit, pick their brain a little bit. Not saying give me a job, but say, hey, I'm interested in this. What could you tell me? Is there any advice you can give to me? Just that's all it is. Like you say in your videos all the time, so it's just probably like rubbed off well on me.
Yeah. Yeah, and as I interpret this question, it's probably most relevant for the folks that like need their survival jobs, right? I picture the
100%.
newcomer that's been here and they're not getting interviews from their applications, and they haven't really networked as much as they could or should have. So, and their bank accounts dwindling. So,
Mm,
do I take that survival job? And I think that that's great. And if you can, because obviously rent expenses and stuff, it's not
yeah,
cheap. So you
it's
need to,
around the world. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you need to do what you need to do. So there's no shame in that. And I often will say, so if you have two people that have pretty much exact same resume, right? And then one person has whatever that survival job, and another one has just been doing nothing other than applying. I'd rather take the person with the survival job, right? At least
Mm,
they started
they're in the field.
understanding, yeah, the culture or what it takes to do work in this area. So I find that to be helpful. But some people think, oh, but they'll look down on me because it's a quick serve at job or at a gas station or a grocery store or whatever. It's like, no, I mean, there is value in that work as well.
So what I'll do is because I forgot to put this in the other ones, but actually no, we're good timing. Before we get to Ariana's comment, from what Luki has spoken about so far, if any of that has resonated with you or just any experience that you've had from your ideal routine, what do you do? Any advice that you'd give to someone else? Or if you're looking for advice, um, have you taken that job that you did not want but needed? Just let us know in the comment section down below. And that way, either myself or Luki can get back to them when we upload this video so you can see it on the replay.
Yep.
That being said, we can now move on to Ariana's comment. And this one is a good one. It's what is your best interview and networking advice?
All right. So if I pick two, one is for interview and one for networking, and it might actually be the same. Is for interview, it's practice. Like when I started early in my career, I would just wing it, hope for the best, and it would be practice maybe in my head, but out loud, record yourself and review it. Watch yourself and cringe as you watch yourself on the camera. Then pick one or two things to improve and then do it again and again and again, right? Because in my experience, interviewing is really just about practice, right? A lot of folks have what they want to say in their heads. And the new analogy that I've been using is if you have a backpack, right? You have all your things in there, you know where your pens, your notebook and stuff like that. But if you take that backpack and dump everything out and just dump everything in, that's what everybody's brain is right now. They have all this stuff. They know exactly what to say,
Yeah.
but when you are looking for your notebook, is it in this pocket, in that pocket? Is your pen here or that? And if you don't take the time to organize that brain of yours, then the answer might be just rambling on. It might be, oh, I forgot this point or that point,
Yeah.
and it might be incomplete. So interviewing is about practice. So almost practicing so much that it doesn't even sound rehearsed is the idea. And the good thing is when you do that practice, it helps you for the next interview, and it even helps you with networking as well, because now you have these stories that you want to talk about, and it's a little bit more clear, it's a little bit more concise, it's a little bit more articulate. So if I were to pick a close second, it's as you practice, just always incrementally improve, right? What did you do well? What could you do better? So that's the advice that I'd give for the interviewing. Again, one for the networking side, it's almost the same thing, where you need to practice, right? So when I started early on, I think I was fairly awkward in my conversations. I was not a very good conversationalist at all, but I forced myself to chat with someone, and then I reflected on it, what I did well, what I could do better, and then I try to do both for the next one. And I would actually uh, t- take a look at some people who I did find were strong networkers, and I would actually start taking notes. They're usually mental notes, and say, "Oh, I like the question that they use. Oh, I see what they did there. I'll make sure to do that next time." So, and then trying it on for yourself, because I remember there was someone who I can't remember exactly what they did, but they did something and said something that seemed like really cool and interesting. So I tried it, and it seemed like totally awkward and didn't work at all. So like, okay, that didn't quite work. And then I tried a different variation. It's like, okay, that's a little bit better, and then adjust and adjust. So eventually you get your flow. And I mean, I'm not the most charismatic person around, but I do better than most just because
Mm.
of that little practice. And then it's given me a lot more confidence. So I'd probably say that both of them are the same thing. It's just practice. And I've found a quote that I've been using more and more. I think it's an Alex Hormozy quote where he says, "It's not the magic list that nobody knows about. It's the obvious list that no one does." Right?
That's true.
Because really with interviews, you should practice,
Yeah, yeah, it's
right?
the obvious stuff.
It's not this magic formula or this 3-step process or the whatever. It's practice. Same with networking. Practice. When you do that, you'll improve, right? So yeah.
I think I'll add, like, just so people, like, from my side, let's say when I was younger, I know that obviously if you're a young person trying to break through your first job, or maybe you've had your first job and you're going to your next job, I know that I was super nervous, and
Mm.
that's normal. But as time went by and moving from England to Canada, I just became more confident, and I wasn't so nervous into interviews, and everything became more natural. But as you say, practice to help organize your thoughts. As you and I know, doing YouTube channels, it's not as easy as just like um, reading a script. You want to try and have some more natural ability.
Yeah.
And just a little tip here for people with networking advice. Let's say you didn't know what to say or what to say. This is something I still do, and it does help because I do a lot. My brain is rattled. If someone messages you, or if you, let's say, on LinkedIn and you want to message this person, maybe just take a screenshot. Let's call this LinkedIn, and then throw that into AI, ChatGPT,
Hmm.
and then just say, look, I want to engage with this person. What should I say? Because I want to get this out of them. Don't say job. Say you want to get a specific career, a piece of advice. Keep it short, keep it brief, given the parameters, and that will just help you understand conversationally what to do better. And you know what? It works because I do it all the time. Don't just copy paste it. Read it yourself. Does it sound like you? Does it sound natural? When you feel like it's right, and it's like as if you're texting a friend or having a conversation, send it. Don't worry about it. And if they get back to you, copy paste and just do the same again. And then slowly, you probably won't even need it.
Yeah, and I would encourage folks to give themselves a little bit of a time box, right? Because I've
Yeah.
had folks where, because I have AI, because I have all these things, I need to send the perfect message. So I get
Oh yeah.
analysis paralysis, and I'm like, oh, I don't like this one. I'll do this. I'll do this. I'll do this. But if you think about it, if the other person was in front of you and you were talking to them, it'd be kind of weird if you didn't say anything for like 5 or 10 minutes or a day and a half, right? So almost give yourself like 2 or 3 minutes, 5 minutes, like 10 minutes max to come up with all these things. You can
Yeah.
review a couple of them, have AI regenerated, and then prompt it again, prompt it again. But after like 5 or 10 minutes, like just send the best that you have and learn, right? And because obviously, if you don't send it out, like you'll never get feedback, and you'll never improve, you'll never get better.
Yeah. If you use ChatGPT for your conversations, let us know in the comments section down below. Is it ChatGPT or is it another AI model? Because
Yeah.
this will be super interesting for, well, Lukey to make probably a future video. We can dive deeper into it. So we'll move on to the next question from Brandy, and they have two questions. So we'll start with the first one. So AI, that's a great transition that we were just talking about. So with AI becoming so ubiquitous in the job market right now, how do we effectively utilize AI to help us secure a job and stand out? That is a good question.
Mm-hmm. And actually, the second part of the question I might want to tackle at the same time or similarly. Do you want to read that out, or do you want me to?
Yeah, I can read that out as well. So they also had, this is like two questions. Um, what are some factors that you think really make someone stand out during the interview process?
Yeah. And I get this type of question a lot, where how do I stand out is essentially it, whether it's in the resume process, the interview process, or any part of the job search process, or even in the career. And the sort of joking answer that I say is, if you want to stand out, you need to do something that stands out,
Yeah.
and then write about it or talk about it, right? Because most people feel that that there's a magic formula, that whatever I do, if I put it in this formula, in, call it like the hero's journey, and if I say it that way, then it automatically becomes more engaging and more compelling and all that. But if you haven't done anything that's interesting and you stands out, then, well, what do you have to write? What do you have to tell them about yourself, right? So that's kind of one where, even if you have graduated or are looking for a job, there's still stuff that you can do, right? That is out of the ordinary, and is a little bit different than everybody else. And when you write something like that on your resume, okay, that helps you to stand out. But I'm so I would encourage folks to look for those things that would be interesting enough in their domain, their area, the industry, or wherever they want to get into, that puts them above and beyond other people, right? If you need to connect with me and have me brainstorm with you, I'm happy to do that as well. And when it comes to AI, it's kind of what we just talked about, right? Pick the model of your choice and ask it to help you craft your resume, match the bullets of that. And in all honesty, in this day and age, AI will not help you stand out. AI will basically keep you like the rest of the pack, because all of the resumes nowadays are AI generated, AI enhanced, AI improved, AI reviewed, that sort of thing, right? So you'll be basically like everyone else. And right now, unfortunately, because there's so much noise when it comes to this AI tech, the only way that I found to truly stand out is to network,
I
is
was just gonna
to
say
build your personal brand, right? So if you don't like the network on one-on-one, it's to like post and be out there, so that people take notice of you. A scary thought and a scary sentiment for that. But if you think about it, that relationship with that person, it's unique to you, right? Not the other 100 applicants may not have had that connection with that person. Now, with AI networking, I'm guessing someone will develop an app for that, that mass messages and has conversations with everybody around. I guess someone will do that too. It'll be harder and harder to stand out. But the other part is leveraging AI as a tool to make you better, right? Because the
yes.
challenge is, folks will use AI and they'll use it as a crux to land the interview. Some of you will even use it for the interview to prepare and all that. But then what if you actually show up to the office, right? If you haven't gone to the point where you've improved, where you can do the interview on your own, I mean, that's a bit of a loss there, right? So instead of taking the shortcut and just kind of what Demetrio said about cutting, pasting, and just using whatever's there, use it to improve you and level yourself as well.
So yeah, I will add to that, because I know throughout the stages of me going through jobs and stuff, you have to stand out. It's almost like thinking out the box, right? Two scenarios I can think of is like when a hacker hacks into a business's database, and all suddenly they didn't do it for malicious purposes, let's say, but more to prove a point, and then they get hired that way because that caught their attention. Like they're supposed to be like the most secure database, but they managed to hack it. So now they want to hire that person to be like the head of security of data breaches. That's just one example of like thinking out the box and grabbing someone's attention. I think I remember this one where someone designed the McDonald's Happy Meal box, and then McDonald's took notice of this and then end up hiring them to be like the designer for future. I think that was a scenario, but catching their attention that way, you really have to think out the box and be extreme, rather than just like you said, just having AI start blending in. Like, you're just going to be another sheet. Yeah. We do have another comment. I think you replied to it, Lukey, didn't you? Oh, Raphael, yes.
Yeah. You just want to know if it's going to be a recording. So yeah.
Yeah, this will be uploaded hopefully within the week. So yeah, if you have any questions, you can drop that in the comment section. Yeah. But we will continue. So yeah,
I just want to add one more comment on the AI
sure.
part, right? Well, at least for now, there'll be many more comments in the future. but on this one, right? AI is definitely changing the game in the sense that your ability to do stuff, like whether it's code or create a financial model or market or whatever, is going to be severely reduced because AI is going to be doing that in the future. So the key skills that you need to start developing are your ability to discern, to think, is this good? Is this appropriate? Does it make sense? Will it work? Right? So the critical thinking components of it, right? So the more that, as Demetrio said, that you can put that into action. So let's say you're in marketing, like why not take your favorite not-for-profits Instagram page and make it go from 500 followers to 750 to 7,000 or whatever. Put all of your knowledge into practice. And having done that, you go through the process of saying, okay, this worked, this didn't. I tried this and I tested this. And you went through the whole process of critical thinking. And then figuring out which part of the problem in order to that you want to tackle, right? So it's all about going to be about prioritization, because if you think about it, you have like tens, hundreds of these little AI agents that you can have code, design, or whatever. But what are you going to point them at? What are you going to have them code? What are you going to have them design? What are you going to have them do? That's going to be the skill of the future, right? So allocating those resources and determining which out of whatever comes back is going to be useful for what you have. So if you can start developing those and actually implement it, then you're going to stand out. And obviously network and connect with people and tell them that you're doing it. And they'll be like, we could use someone like you. And I even had it when in networking, jobs get created because they didn't even know that they needed your help, but because they were able to describe it in such helpful detail, then it's like, oh yeah, we could hire you. Like, do you want to start on Monday? Yeah. Had folks like that happen. So yeah, just some other considerations.
Yeah, if it was, do you know what? Put in the comments down below, what would you do to stand out now? If it was me, I would probably start a video series and just posting that on LinkedIn and maybe other platforms on why they should hire you or what you could do. Just make yourself stand out. So I don't think I've seen anyone. I don't spend much time on LinkedIn anymore, but that will probably be a good way to go. So we'll move on to the next question. And this is from Jay. I hope I pronounced that right. And they have asked, I know you have a YouTube short on asking for a coffee chat, but is there one related to what the conversation might be like when you actually go into one? Thanks.
Yeah, I don't think we have a video. This is probably a future idea of what
Yeah.
happens or what a conversation is actually like. And probably because they could be so varied, right? Because depending on the type of person you're talking to, the conversation could go any number of ways. But I guess we could put some guidelines on after you ask for the coffee chat, like how do you start, right? So the typical one is I would prepare a little bit and research on the person, and almost list all the questions that I would want to ask them. And even if there's time, like send it ahead. Oh, these are the 5 questions, the 12 questions I'd love to cover as part of our conversation, right? And then do a quick intro. There's always like the small talk. It's like, hey, how's your day? What were you up to before? How's the weather? How's the traffic? That sort of thing to build a little bit of rapport. But picking the small talk topic that you are interested in, because I know some people hate small talk, right? And that's usually because you're talking about the topic that you don't like, right? So if that's the case, pick the topic you like. And then if it's like a tip standard coffee chat, you go through your questions, but not just necessarily ask the question, get the response, ask the next question and get a response. But when they respond, ask them a question about what they just said,
Yeah.
right? And just say, oh, can you elaborate? You mentioned this. Can you say a little bit more or something like that? If you've watched some of the videos, the conversation pieces is that's interesting. Tell me more is one of my favorite phrases to use. So use that in its various variations. And you'll be surprised at just something like that or variations of it, how long you can keep a conversation going for. So that's probably what I'd have. And then you probably want to have a timer so that towards the end, like if you ask them for 20 minutes, have a timer for 18 just to make sure that you respect their time and saying, oh, we only have 2 minutes left and I still have 4 more questions to cover. And they might say, oh, actually, I have extra time. Or they might say, oh, no, I got to rush off because I have a big meeting to prepare with like the board of directors or something like that. So they'll be thankful that you took their time into consideration. And then, yeah, part of it is also the previous answer where you practice, right? Because no two conversations will be the same. And the more that you have experience with these different types of conversations, the better you are at going to be at navigating them as well, right? So, yeah, we have some coffee chat videos, but we should probably do maybe
Yeah,
another series of them. Yeah.
I think we should do because I think coffee chats are great personally. They're not as formal as an actual interview, but they can be used as an interview. And you just think of it as if you're dating. Again, ask open-ended questions, not yes or no. Leave them with a yes or no. You wanna fact find to ask them why they did this so they can explain more. And like you said, that's interesting. Tell me more as a
Yeah.
as a nice carry on kind of thing. But even in the beginning, it's like, oh, how did you get here? How's the traffic? Just talk about what just happened to get there and keep it light. Again, use ChatGPT. And I don't think it's the end of the world if you had like a piece of paper that you had your questions written down. And you might not even need them at the end of the day. You may look at them or answer them as you go.
Yeah.
Um,
But don't have Chat GPT during the coffee chat and like
no,
say,
yeah,
what
don't do
question
that.
should I ask next, right? Don't do that, please.
Unless it's part of the topic and you are fact finding each other, that's different. But yeah, don't have ChatGPT while you're there because that human element is something that we're going to be craving a lot more than AI personally.
Yeah. And
That's
I
my
would encourage folks to develop that skill, right? So
yes.
even if you feel your networking skill, you're a 1 out of 10, a 5 out of 10, or whatever, just be a little bit better tomorrow than you are today. That's all that you really need, and then eventually you'll be comfortable enough to be able to carry on a conversation.
We will get back to Raphael's question in a moment about the coffee chat. Um But in the meantime, if you're watching this on the replay, what is your best questions during a coffee chat? Like put them down below, and then that way others can see as well, and then we can all collaborate together and we can answer that as well. So before we get back to you, Raphael, with that question, we have one more here from Raina. So they asked, are there any specific norms or practices when it comes to job searching or applying for a job in Canada? I don't know if you want to broaden this to other countries, but I'll leave that up to you.
Yeah. So I'll start with the job search in general. And you've probably seen some of my videos where I say the job search is actually quite simple, right? In order to get a job, you need an offer. That makes sense. Right? To get an offer, you need to go through interviews, right? Again, makes sense. And to get interviews, you need to either apply or network. So super simple. And that's basically every job search. You need to go through those steps. Now, some of them might be missing or shortcutted, but that's all you need. The challenge is simple, doesn't mean easy. So the question itself has a bit of a bias where it says, or applying for a job, right? So it misses the second part of the networking in order to land an interview. Because if the goal is to land an interview, if you think about it, networking is really just an informal interview, right? And they're already judging you, they're assessing you, whether you like it or not. They're doing that. So if you want to land an interview, why not uh, network first? Again, that's a bit of almost even practice for an interviewing. So I would say that, especially even in this market, it's not a matter of even applying or networking. It's you got to do both, right? And now it's come to the point where you have to actually do something a little bit more interesting to help you stand out, because everybody's applying, everybody's networking, right? But not everybody is doing what was it that you said, like creating a you said like people weren't well doing something out of the ordinary.
Oh yeah,
Right?
thinking outside the box.
Yeah. So thinking outside the box. So I, like I said in my marketing analogy, right? So if you were how many people are actually uh, taking their marketing skills and putting into practice? How about like if you're a developer, a coder, like with AI and vibe coding, you can like hack something together in like an hour or a weekend, right? And just show, hey, I decided to prototype this, right? What do you think? And anybody who takes a little bit of initiative, they stand out, right? Because they're not doing what everybody has. So I would say that I guess the norms are that is just applying and networking, right? And if you follow the norms, then you are basically like everybody else. But if you start doing things outside of the norm, that's where you start standing out, right? That's when people start noticing you, whether it's you've built your brand online, whether you show up at events and meet people and follow up for coffee chats. Like those are the people when that you that stand out and that you want to hire. Um, but yeah, I mean, all the guidance that I have talks about norms. You got to apply, you got to network,
Yeah.
and go through interviews, right? So those are the
This
basic things.
this reminds me of that saying, the early bird catches the worm, right? Like if you
Mm.
don't go out and get it, you don't ever expect anything to come to you. You could build, like it goes back to what you said earlier about um, keeping your head down. You could build the best website and it's the cleanest UI, whatever, but you have no one's going to come looking at that website if you don't tell anyone about that website. So you literally, if you want a job, you have to go out and get it, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's through Instagram or TikTok or just wherever. Make yourself known, make friends, because that's how you get jobs, in my opinion. Especially when I was living in Canada, just knowing people, be like, hey, this is my buddy Demetrios. He's looking for a job. Next thing you know, it was like a straight shoe in rather than having to go through all these procedures. So I just like bypassed all of that.
Yeah, and it's almost what I said about my actions, my effort will speak for itself. Like that's what everyone thinks. Oh, my resume should speak for itself.
Mm,
Well, but everybody else's resume is just as good, especially with AI. They've tweaked it, they've polished it, and so they all look the same now,
less
right?
so now, I believe.
Yeah.
I think I've told you this in the past. Like, I think they're pointless. I don't think I even send people resumes anymore. I'll be like, take a look at my website. The resume doesn't say anything to if you
Yeah.
ask me.
Well, I'm waiting for other people to find different areas. So there's a company that I interacted with where they look for signals out in the market, and they are specifically looking for the passive candidates, right? The people who are not actively applying, and they're actually working with recruiting companies to reach out and say, hey, you've been at this company for like X number of years. Like, don't you think it's a good time to move, right? And they'll find those signals. And usually the ones that are dutifully employed, they're doing pretty well, right? So it's a matter of grabbing them. So just the way hiring is happening is changing, right?
Yeah.
So and I think that what won't change is going to be the not the who you know, and then more importantly the who knows you. I think that will be super important in the future.
What we'll do is we'll put a community post. You might want to put a reminder for this.
Okay.
Do you think resumes are pointless? We'll put it like it doesn't have to be 2025. It's probably going to be going forward. And then drop that in the comments as well of this video. Do you think resumes are pointless? Just let us know, because that'll be an interesting one. Maybe we could do a separate topical video on that.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, we'll answer Raphael's question, and then you can close us out, Lukey. So Raphael asked here, if we go back to the coffee chats,
Yeah.
if you don't have any information about that person for that coffee chat, how do you get better at spontaneity? That's actually quite good.
I would probably what comes to mind is practice, right? Putting yourself in the situation where you can be spontaneous, as in talking to your barista, talking to your server,
Yes.
talking to someone you're waiting in line with, talking to whatever. Because if you're just waiting for this one coffee chat a month that you scheduled to practice your spontaneity, that's not a lot of practice. But if you practice every day, 2 or 3 times a day, and look to, okay, when I'm sitting in line with this person, what are some ways that I could have been spontaneous, right? And reflect back to the line that you were in yesterday, or when you were sitting on public transit, or wherever it is that you could have possibly just started striking up a conversation. It kind of speaks to that whole small talk piece. And if you've seen some of the videos, I have 2 acronyms that I often use: HEFE and FORD. HEFE is HEFE, and it stands for hobbies, entertainment, food, and environment. And FORD, it stands for family, occupation, recreation, which is really just HEFE, and dreams. And if you start to take a look at like HEFE, then, well, through the weather, just even notice something and talk about it. Oh, Lukey, that's an interesting sweater. Oh, that's a pin bag, something that they're wearing, because people usually only have or wear things that they like, and there's usually a story to it, and usually it's some sort of positive emotion, right? And then if they relive that positive emotion with you, they just like you a little bit better. And if you use that with whatever conversation that you have, and oftentimes if you share a little bit from your own experience or something that you've done, people will reciprocate and in kind, right? So let's say that Ford analogy, right? Some people, if you start with family, they don't have a good family situation, or occupation, they hate their job, right? Dreams, they don't have any goals, right? Recreation, the HEFE, people are usually okay to talk about that. But if you want to know whether or not family is a good topic, you talk about your family first. And if they reciprocate, you can talk about family. But if they switch the topic, okay, maybe family's off, right?
Yeah.
If they ask you about, if you ask about, if you share about your job, and they switch the topic, well, maybe they don't like talking about their job, right? So when you share, then oftentimes that will allow other people to share with you whether or not I want to continue the conversation, or hands off, I want to talk about something else. So I guess there's a few things to unpack there. If you don't know anything, it's the typical small talk, the breadth topics that you can, the he type of stuff, and then just practice your spontaneity. If that sounds like you can actually do it, like plan your spontaneity, if that's possible. And it's like practice your spontaneity. I think that's something. It's a skill that people should practice.
Yeah. Okay, so today we covered everything from AI, job interviews, coffee chats, and the worst advice Luki ever had, potentially. So if you're watching the replay, comment down below. You can rewind back and see what I mentioned specifically about those certain topics that helped you most, and Luki or I will help get reply to those comments. Do you want to finish up this last section here, Luki?
Yeah, I mean, if you like this format and how we're doing the mailbags, then let us know, and maybe we'll do more in the future. I suspect we'll try a few more. And if you haven't already, subscribe and hit that bell icon so you don't miss the next one. And really appreciate everybody taking the time to hang out today. And we're gonna take just one small step toward the career life that you actually want, and hopefully you take some of this advice and implement it, turn it into action. And I guess we'll see you all next week. And until next time, be focused and stay inspired.